Hello and welcome. My name is well, sometimes I know my name. Today I might just be too overwhelmed with excitement, but I can still introduce myself. I am your host, B Zelda, hosting Tabletop Otaku, which is powered by Origins Game Fair, and my pronouns are they, them, and I am genuinely overwhelmed because, I spend a lot of my free time hosting a podcast called Anime Attaché, where we talk about the first couple seasons of My Hero Academia, and now I get to speak to two human beings that are part of the creative team that have made this My Hero Academia collectible card game. Jason and Timothy, how are you two doing today?
Doing great, and thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be showing you what we're showing you today.
So even before we micro kind of focus and hyper focus on my love of this card game, the company that you work for, how do you pronounce it? Is it Jasco? Jasco?
Yep, Jasco Games.
Jasco. You have an incredible library of games in there.
Thank you so
What
much.
are some of your favorites?
Oh man, our favorites, all of them.
Okay,
so
that's the right answer, but what's
I'll jump into why we do what we do, and that's why they're all my favorites. So
Mhm.
the whole company is kind of built off of my personal 80s and 90s nostalgia. So when we're going
Respect.
after, especially licensed products or even our own independent IPs, they're very heavily influenced by kind of all of our childhoods. So that's why you're going to see a lot of video games, a lot of comic books, a lot of TV shows and movies, and that's just all the stuff we love. And anytime we can get a hold of one that, we call it a license, an IP, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
that we're really passionate about, we just dive all in and try to make it as thematic to the IP as possible.
Oh, that is fantastic. I mean, what is the one that's most iconic to you? Because I keep seeing Street Fighter in there, Street Fighter versus Darksiders. That's
There's okay, so yeah,
fantastic.
it's complicated. So we have a really close relationship with Capcom. So
Okay.
Street Fighter, Mega Man, and Darkstalkers are extremely
Darkstalkers, yes.
close to us. Yeah, we've been playing those forever. They were part of the game before Jasco even acquired the Universal Fighting System, which is where that all started.
Oh,
That was
wow.
originally Sabretooth Games and then Fantasy Flight Games, and then we've had it for the last 11 years. So, but Mortal Kombat's probably my favorite fighting game. I love anime. I've always loved anime, so all the anime titles are huge. Cowboy Bebop is like
My
that was
heart
our first,
stopped
and
when I saw Cowboy. I did not expect to see Cowboy Bebop there, at all. That is just one of those
super close to my
nostalgic
heart.
things.
Love
Oh
Cowboy
my
Bebop.
gosh, so good.
Yeah, so we've been lucky enough to have a chance to work on some great titles. There you go. I think I
Wonderful.
actually have the whole board game sitting right here, but that's okay.
Casual, no big deal. Oh, that's marvelous. Timothy, do you have any favorites?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Before I worked here, I was just a fan of the card game that we make, and I got into playing that because it had Mega Man characters, and so I was like, I want to play Metal Man because he seems cool, and he's my favorite robot master, and his power in the game, the weapon that you get from him as Mega Man, is the most busted in all of the Mega Man games ever. So I wanted to play him, and yeah, I really dig Mega Man, and now I mean my hero, and I we are just fellow uh geeks and nerds, and we just love all this cool stuff, and so it's always so cool to be able to work on this stuff.
Okay, now I want to do a little bit of macro. Let's look at the big picture. If there was any game that you could capture the IP for, I say it like you're catching Pokemon, what would you want to make a card game out of? There's already
Next,
so
or
many amazing titles. Sorry, go ahead.
let's let Tim talk first. Tim, what would yours be? Because I think we're gonna have different ones.
Oh, well, okay, not counting the ones that are already games by other companies, I would say probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ooh, that is a
And
fun one.
strangely or not, that was my answer. So I guess
Really?
no
Both of
wonder
you?
Tim and I work together. So.
Oh my gosh.
Michelangelo is by far the best. I will defend
I don't
that
think I can
stance.
pick a turtle. I have a really hard time with like any main character choices. Um, they're all really popular. I like the bad guys though. Foot Soldier was my favorite character.
I just like the angsty characters. Whichever one does the most yelling, they're
Oh,
usually my favorite.
so you're definitely a Raphael fan.
Yes, yes.
Well, they all say Cowabunga in a loud pitch, so
Not as angsty though, not quite like Raphael.
that's true.
Oh my
What about you?
goodness.
What would your ideal card game be?
Okay, I have like I recently watched for like the 57th time Yuri on Ice.
Okay.
Um
You know,
so
you have no idea how many times we get suggested that.
genuinely, because I would play the
Yeah,
heck out of it. And like it's
yeah.
not even so much the combat, it's you want to beat the competitors at skating. There's all these established characters and I love that. And maybe there's bonuses to romance, just silly stuff like that.
There you go. Well, that's one of the beauties of universes as a system. So it's our first games where we got started. I was a competitive player before we acquired it from Fantasy Flight. Tim was as well before he worked with us. And actually, most of our staff has some kind of affinity for the games before they come here. That's pretty normal
I
for a
love
game
that.
company,
I think
I would
yeah.
say. Um, but the beauty of universes and most of our IPs is our mechanics are designed to mix IPs. So that's why we have anime and video games and movies and comic books that can all your favorite characters can answer those age old questions of who would win in a fight or a combat or
Yes.
a debate or whatever it is that they do in their IP.
Age old question of Goku or Superman, you know?
That one would be awesome, and I'm pretty sure Goku would win.
There's
But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
me.
That's where I'd put my money.
there's no argument. It's Superman.
Tim,
Well, it
are we about
depends
to
which
fight?
Goku, because Dragon Ball Super Goku is
God
actually a
mode?
god. Like
Su-
you can't forget
Literally.
that.
Superman
What rendition of Superman? Come on, let's do
Superman
this.
beat the universe by seeing into a wishing machine.
I can't argue that one. I don't know. I've got nothing with that.
Anyway, yeah, we could go down this rabbit hole way too long. So, but yeah, we're a bunch of geeks and nerds, and it is hard to pick a favorite game, even our own games, because I kind of go in phases and play them and get really addicted to one at a time.
Oh,
So
I just had another thought for another one that I would love to do, and that'd be like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes. Have you even checked? Kate, they launched a Kickstarter recently.
Yes,
$2
congratulations to them.
$1 million for a tabletop game. That's unheard of.
And I haven't backed it yet, so they're gonna get another however many $100 their max pledge is.
It looks so good. I was a part of the Magpie team. I run games for them every now and then, so I had the pleasure of running Avatar a little earlier. It was just so cool. So like that as a card game, let me beat the Fire Nation just any way possible, please. I need that in my soul.
I just want a space sword.
Don't let your dreams stay dreams, you know? Oh, marvelous. So this company, you like the IPs, the games that are behind your name, it's all fantastic. Now this channel, the primary folks that kind of consume this content, they're all anime fans. How would we want to pitch a card game to them? Like, are all of the card games mostly two-player? Is it something you can do from the ease of your home? Can you travel with this? Do you bring these games to conventions?
I would say the answer to all of those are yes. They are mostly two-player games for the card games. They're based off of fighting game systems. So we work with Level 99 on an Exceed game. So they've designed Exceed, and we do a couple of crossovers with them. Universes is based off of fighting game mechanics, but heavily uses anime. And that's a 1v1 competitive game. You can play it online or at home. We do tournaments. We go to all the conventions. We'll be at Gen Con, but not with the booth this year, but we'll have our booth again next year.
Okay, might see you there.
Yeah, I'm super excited because this year I actually get to play games. I haven't done that since like 2009.
Oh, that's
so I'm not
beautiful.
running a booth.
You're not just working the whole time?
Right. Usually I feel guilty even like I've been wanting to break away for True Dungeon for like 12 years in a row and I can't. And then this year's like they don't have it. I was like, no. So
sorry.
Oh well. But yeah, it's it's all of the above. We have a lot of support for these games, and thematically we want to make sure that when we do game design, everything fits the IP and the characters. So we don't do any slap and stick, as you would call it, where it's a game mechanic like I'm not going to name any names, but any popular game where you just kind of rotate through big names and IPs, and it's always the same game for the most part with a little different theme. We like to go all in on the brand. So you'll see that in the My Hero Academia collectible card game.
I'm very excited for that. I think that's wonderful. Just like I need a little bit of range. I need the diversity, and I've already looked at some of the cards and the art. is fantastic. Like the coloring, just everything about it is wonderful. And I guess like my last question is still just about like, so if folks wanted to find this game, ordering online, their local friendly gaming store, what is the best method?
Well, we are really lucky that we got an exclusive partnership for the launch of the My Hero Academia collectible card game with Asmodee. And so,
Nice.
and Asmodee is also distributing to all of the distributors in North America, Australia, Canada, and most of Europe.
Yep.
So, not just through Asmodee, but also through all the big distributors you've heard of. We'll be getting it in hobby shops first. And I believe there's about 3,500 hobby shops out of about 5,500 in the US that are already committed to the game so far. Canada's heavily committed, and Australia and Europe is heavily committed. So you should be able to get it in just about any hobby shop. And the great news for this is with that partnership and our joint efforts comes a lot of reach. So starting the beginning quarter of next year, it will also be in most big box stores. I would say probably more than any other card game, except for maybe one that where you collect them all. So
I mean, that's competition you don't even consider. Let's be real.
it's I don't think they're competition. It's just
No.
a different thing.
Oh,
To be
that's
honest, I
so
think we're all
marvelous.
friends with everybody in the entire tabletop industry, and I don't
I love
actually
that.
see competition in this industry. I think everyone is here out of passion for the most part. It's at least 99%. There might be
Mhm.
one or two like Scrooge McDucks out there, but for the most part, I think this is a very passion-driven industry.
I think that's marvelous. I can only speak like I have my toes kind of in the tabletop industry, but it's all very, like you said, it's everybody trying to look out for each other. Like we all want to see you succeed, and if that means you're going to do something that is slightly cooler than like what person over there is doing, oh well, you put in the work, and I want you to be amazing. So I really love that like that model is kind of carried over even to this side of the industry. Like that's marvelous.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for this brand to see it in your anime shops and your manga shops because that's going to be a cool new reach for card games that are very specific to anime. So
Right?
yeah, that's
Oh,
going to be fun for this launch.
I think that's really cool. And I always joke with my friends because like I am such an anime nerd. I like to pretend like I only have one friend. So this kind of game really appeals to people. If you only have one good IRL friend, you make them play this game because it would be marvelous.
Yeah, and if you're a collector too, like I'm a hardcore collector, have been forever because my dad raised me with baseball cards and football cards, and he collected that generation of stuff. And then I got into gaming, and I was like, I can still have that feeling of kind of the lottery ticket collection. I feel special with this card, but it also does something. I love that.
Mhm.
I love that it actually has like a reason to be collectible.
You've got me wondering,
Um,
are there any holographic cards?
This is our first card game that we've made where every single card is possible in holographic.
Oh, that speaks to child me. A little like you tilt it and it shines. Oh my word.
Yeah. In fact, we were joking, and it might become a reality in the future sets for Aoyama, the belly button laser
Yes!
character. We
Naval
actually wanted
laser!
to make an entire theme around the twinkling cards, aka if you have the foil version of the card, it gets a bonus.
Uh-huh. Because I think that's
Because it's like super
fabulous.
thematic. We joked about it on set one, and then we actually returned to it for some future sets where we're like, I think we need to do this as a promo or something. So
No idea how excited people would be. Like, I can just express how excited I am for the existence of that. I need that. I absolutely need that.
yeah, so we introduced a new thing for us called extra rares, and extra rares are any card in the game has an alternate version that is foil, and if it was already a foil card, like a rare or ultra rare, it gets a different kind of foil or a full art or something. So this is the first time we've ever done that. We really went all out for this game. We went beyond, so to speak.
A little plus
Um,
ultra, would you say?
yeah, I might say that. A couple exclamation points.
Just a few. Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic. Tim, so what have been like your contributions? What do you enjoy so much about like just the process of this game or even any of the development with it?
I like so with developing anything, you come up with ideas for how things will work or a specific image to use, and then maybe that doesn't work out. But the process of kind of like working through that and making something work and feel good to play and to look at just like the process of creating it is like super duper cool. And then again, I started playing this just at my local, I started playing card games at my local store, and being able to make them now is just so cool. Like, how can you not just love doing the thing that you love to do?
That is like a
That
dream
sounds
come
weird.
true.
I apologize the way I said that, but I think you get what I mean.
No, absolutely. That is quite literally a dream come true. May I ask, I'm just being nosy, but what was the first card game that really got you into gaming stores? Like, what was your pull at the time?
Well, for me, it wasn't a gaming store because we didn't really have those, but it was the comic book and sports card store right next to the movie theater, and it was 1993 Magic the Gathering Alpha.
Oh
I actually
my
started playing
gosh.
way back then.
Damn.
Yeah, Magic was my first card game too. I got more into Yu-Gi-Oh when it launched, and I got it at a Walgreens. We literally watched the shows. Me, my best friend, and his brother watched the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh. Thought it was hilarious
So
because it was
good.
the voice acting was so over the top. We thought it was like a joke, and so we talked like the characters the whole way. Walked to the Walgreens, all bought a starter deck, and walked back and played while we were watching it.
That's a beautiful moment, though. I hope you are still in touch with your brother because, like, that's bonding for life.
Yeah, I mean, I will never forget that for sure.
Oh, I love that. For me, like,
Have you played any card games yourself? Are you into CCGs, or is this going to be a new go for you?
this is pretty much gonna be a new go for me. I'm trying to think, like, does trading shiny Pokemon cards for shiny Pokemon cards count when I was a small
I'll
child?
count it. I'll count
Yeah.
it. That
That
sounds
works.
like a
Totally.
lunchroom in school growing up.
Okay, did a little bit of that. Tried to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Mostly just didn't understand the rules and there was no
Same.
tables to flip, so I would suspiciously slap everybody's cards and they would go flying. Like, oh darn, guess I won. So I don't
That's how you
have
do it.
the best track record when it comes to games like this.
Well, no worries. I hope we can get you to fall in love with our mechanics as much as we did, because that's why we do what we do now, especially this game. And the whole company revolves around these mechanics, and it's got a really close place in our hearts for sure.
If you can help me learn it, then you know that it is user friendly, because you really have to account for the person who's going to mess up the most, and I can find a way. So I think that will be the tell for us.
Yeah, and we knew we'd be getting a lot of new blood into the community and into the card gaming and everything else with this IP. So we developed like 3 different kinds of learn to plays. We have a very cool rule book that's very pictorial that comes with the starter decks. We have walkthrough, like short videos that are going to be coming out. And then there's going to be an exhausted long video, but still very new player friendly. And then we have an advanced rules for the tournament players that are going to want to go play for prizes. So hopefully there's a way to learn it through your learning style.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that, though. Like, you're hitting all the different tiers and all the different approaches for folks who do have different learning approaches, and I think that's fantastic. I'm a visual learner, so when we move over to Tabletop Simulator, that is going to be perfect for me, because not only can I learn, I hope we have Flip the Table turned off, but I also...
Well, let's set that up right now.
I won't actually press it.
Tim might.
Okay. We gotta be mindful of that. I mean, if we are ready, I would love to move over to the Tabletop Simulator. And before we do that, though, I just want to let everybody watching from home know that after this week, I believe Wasabi Anime is going on hiatus. They are going to be jumping around at a million conventions, so you can check them out there. They will be appearing in so many fabulous places. That does not mean the end for Tabletop Simulator. That does not mean the end for Tabletop Otaku or Tabletop Simulator, really. That's not going anywhere. But if you want to watch more of this show with me and some marvelous guests, we will be streaming over on the Origins Game Fair Twitch, starting on Tuesday at 10 p.m. Starting Wednesday at 10 p.m. This is what happens when you don't write any copy and you rely on your brain power to succeed. Not always the best, but if that wasn't clear, I will repeat it again at the end of the show. Now, moving on to Tabletop Simulator. First and foremost, the color palette. This is beautiful. You've got the green and red.
Yep, we really wanted to capture kind of the four-color feel of especially early seasons of My Hero Academia, right? It's very kind of classic comic booky kind of artistic motif.
Yeah.
Yeah, set 1/season 1 is very comic book dot oriented, and
It
we took a
is.
lot of time going through several different designs on what we wanted the cards to feel like, the theme of the set to feel like, even the posters and background information. And what's cool about these playmats, I think we mentioned before the show, is these come in the starter deck, both of them, and there's a poster on the
Yes.
back too, so you can hang them up on your wall.
Yep.
That's wonderful. That's good multi-purpose, you know?
Yep. So you train with the playmats that come with it. When you graduate to maybe like a rubber playmat, or you don't choose to not need the mat, so you don't play with one, then you turn into a poster and you have cool poster on your wall.
Do you like, is the poster the characters on the back, or is it like group art?
It is, yeah. I'm pretty sure the red and green has Deku on the back, and then the yellow and orange has Midoriya on the back. Or not. Oh my gosh,
Bakugo?
I'm catching it. Bakugo.
Katsuki.
The
Cannot forget about our angriest boy.
We've done lots and lots of demos of this game, and for some reason everyone just wants to play Bakugo.
I can't imagine why. It's not like he steals the show or anything.
He is definitely one of my favorites too.
Okay, now I have to ask, who is everybody's favorite character?
Personally, I have a couple. I like Kamui Woods and I like All Might.
You like Kamui Woods? Really?
How can you not? He's so cool.
That's a choice. That's a choice. Okay.
Let me give you a little background on that choice. So
Please.
my favorite character in almost everything is like a henchman.
Mhm.
So I like foot soldiers, stormtroopers, like the people that walk around and like look generic and die.
Yep.
That's like what I strive to be in my future sci-fi or science fiction character, is that henchman. So Kamui Woods just kind of has that look. He has the look for me. The generic ninjas from Mortal Kombat, I love every color of them.
I just
That's
like
so
tree people. I
specific.
like Ents. Woodman is my second favorite robot master from Mega Man. I just like trees. They're cool.
That's the answer I would have expected, was just like a love for tree people.
Mine's
No?
weird, yeah, I know.
Oh, that's excellent.
But
Who's your favorite character?
Oh, Aizawa, hands down. Give me that
Aizawa's
sensei.
badass,
He's
too.
so cool. He's so strong, and he also
See-
sleeps in a yellow sleeping bag. Relatable.
We have that as a card.
that might be on a card.
I will cry. Oh my god, please.
See, that's the problem. And this isn't a real problem, but that's my problem with My Hero Academia. I love all of the characters. Like so many of the teachers are really cool. Aizawa is for sure the best teacher, 100%. I love a lot of the students. My two favorite
I
students.
thought you were gonna say Asui, Tim. I could have sworn
Asui is my favorite student. I love Froppy.
Yeah.
And then my second favorite is Tokoyami. I actually have him on my business
Dark
card.
Burb. Oh my god, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic.
Bird Boy, best boy.
Truly, bird boy, best boy. That is the quote. I'm trying to think of any other students. Like Kirishima. Again, I love the buff boys, the ones that want to try their best, but they're only so good at things, you know?
we have such great card names and art for Kirishima.
Oh, I'm very excited. So, to even get into this, what do I have
you
to
can thank
know?
you can thank Toho and Shueisha for a lot of the choices and names and what showed up too. We had to work very closely with them on everything.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
So I'm just going to show a couple cards from the deck to give you some information, right? So
look at
we
that
have,
art.
and hopefully I'll get some. Well, that's not what I
Here,
wanted to
eat
do.
this. Yep.
We wanted to call it "Eat This" so bad, but Shueisha was like, "No, it should be called this."
All right. So in these decks, we only have 3 different types of cards. You have your character, right?
Okay.
Which is the character that you're playing. So you will be playing Midoriya. We have cards that are called foundations, which are like your energy or your land related to other games. These, when you play them at the end of the turn, they'll go on your stage, and then you can use them. You can use the abilities on them while they're in your stage, and then you can also commit them or turn them sideways to help pass the check to play any other card on another turn.
Okay.
So that is kind of like your energy or your mana or that type of a card. Then we have attacks. Attacks, instead of creatures, we don't have like, we're not throwing out Midoriya and like Kirishima as individuals onto your battlefield to play. You have attacks. And something like Heroic Strike here would be an attack that Midoriya, one of his signature moves, would attack Bakugo with. So those are the two major card types that are going to be in this demo that we do today, and then your character card, which starts in play. Additionally, some real quick more information. You have this number here up in the top left corner. That's the difficulty. That's just how hard it is to play. That's kind of like your cost. When you want to play that card, and we'll get to playing cards shortly, that's what you have to hit. You have to hit a 2 for this particular card. And then in the bottom, we have this number here, this 5. That is, anytime you play a card, it'll go in your card pool and you'll play, and then you'll flip over a thing, and the value is, for this card, would be a 3. So if I were playing this and I need a 2, I flip over a 3, hey, it's successful. But if I'm trying to play a 4 and I get a 3, it's unsuccessful. I would need to pay a little bit more to do that. And there's, by committing cards in your stage, you can do that.
Yeah. We'll go into more details on that. Obviously, he went pretty quick there, but the main mechanics are play cards into your card pool. They get harder as you play. It's called progressive difficulty. So the more you try to do, the more tired your character gets. And it becomes riskier to try to do that. And then in order to do that, you flip cards from your deck into your discard pile. That's called making a check to see if you can keep going. And you can choose to stop whenever, or you can fail on accident by pushing the limits a little bit too much, and that'll end your turn. So I do think we may have lost our host.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
I know, Tim, you and I could talk forever about just games and playing the games. So.
But this isn't our show.
It's not our show. But since we have this this break, because this is the first show before a big announcement next week, I think I want to tell the anime fans out there something real big that's coming up with our Learn to Play videos and our commercials that we haven't told anyone yet, and that is that they are all voice acted by the English voice actors from the show. So when you see the Learn to Play video, you'll be taught by All Might. When you watch the commercials, you'll hear the voice actors from the show talking about the card game here shortly. That's a big thing our fans are not aware of yet until this moment, and I believe those are going to be airing fairly soon. We have a big special promotion with Sony and Funimation and a bunch of places these are going to air here shortly. So I'm excited.
Well, you'll definitely have to say that again when our host returns.
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Adam, the co-producer here. I'm just jumping in. It seems like B has had a little bit of technical difficulties. Sorry about that, everyone. But
Oh, no.
I think what we'll do to keep things rolling here is you guys can sort of start. I'm gonna be keeping an eye on updates from them, but I worry that if there is internet problems, that we may have some sustained internet issues. So I'm just gonna jump in here. Why don't you guys go over some of the rules? And I am actually here. Yeah, I am on camera here if you want to jump on. Sorry, just talking with our other director. Yeah. Yep, great. Yeah, we'll stay here with me just jumping in to kind of make sure that we get this out to everybody until B makes their way back. So yeah, hey, live streaming. That's the way it goes, right, everybody? So stuff happens.
I think Tim's nothing because I'm usually the technical difficulty. It's almost always me, so it's kind of nice to not be the problem for a change.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that since we lost B on both Tabletop Simulator and Zoom, that it may be an actual like internet or power outage or something on. Okay, great. So they're going to be jumping in as soon as their computer restarts. But
Sure.
If you want to go over some of the basics or show some of the art, I'd love to. If you want to jump through some of the cards here, we can pull up a few of the more
Okay, so
interesting
let's just
ones
put
that
some of
you're,
them right out here.
yeah. See
We
if you
have
spot any that you're really excited about, that you're
so
really proud of.
these are the 4 different cards that are foundations in this deck. So
Okay.
all of these come, and these demo decks are also comprised of cards from the starter that you can purchase,
Mhm.
the rival deck starter that we have. Actually, like we were saying earlier, the passing the torch card, really great. We love this art, and we really wanted to call it Eat This. Unfortunately, that was not what we ended up naming it, but it's such a great moment. And that's the other thing that's so cool is with this art, we're able to capture the feel and these moments, like the feeling of these moments when you're watching the show and you're like, ah, yeah, that was so cool when this happened, or remember when when All Might gives him the hair to eat, like, ah, that's such a great memory.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can
and
really feel the.
foundations.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, foundations are actually there to build the foundation and the background of the character's story. And the cool thing about universes is you can bring your allies in to tell that story with you. So you don't have to just play cards with your character's artwork on it. You can mix and match based off of symbols, which is the 3 cards on the bottom or the 3 symbols on the bottom left. There are 12 different symbols that tell a different part of a story. It's kind of your attitude, your strengths and weaknesses, and that kind of thing. That's how you construct a deck. But the foundation cards, before I kind of explain it like getting into boxing or something, before you can get into like a big match, you need to learn how to do it and go through your story. So you build out your foundations typically first, because if you throw a punch and you've never done it before, you're going to fall on your face and it's not going to go well. So you typically build, is what we call it. You build some foundations out. You kind of tell that story, and all the cards do different things, so you can build your character story a little bit differently. And then you throw out your attack lineup, and your attack lineup is either your character's cards, which synergize with your character, and then you can bring in allies from the show to do other moves with you. So it's really cool that way, and I love that it really does tell the season in progression. The set's designed to mostly be in season order, not 100%, but it's like set 1 is mostly season 1, set 2 is mostly season 2, and so forth. So you can really grow with the show as you play.
Right.
Yep.
And now you were saying that you've got all these sort of different elements for deck building. So that sets your deck building. Are there signature cards that are unique to individual characters that you can only play in one deck, or is it all that I can mix and match anything as long as I meet those sort of aspect requirements?
You have signature abilities, and that only the character can play on the cards. But for the most part, I don't believe there are any cards that are character specific 100%. There are definitely abilities that only certain characters can use, and sometimes it's a certain group of characters can use. And then the rest of the card is for everybody, because we like everything to be something you can play when you collect it. So I don't want personally cards that just sit there and only the fans of this character get to use it.
Yeah, well, and when you're collecting, especially with a CCG like this, getting that chaff is always that frustrating thing in the pack. It's like, oh, well, here's these like 7 cards that I have no use for. I mean, I guess that gives you trade stock, but at the same time, it's like you've got that frustration of like, well, but this is a really cool card, and maybe I want to
and
use
there's
it.
so many cool characters in My Hero Academia that we don't really want to limit cards to one character when there's ultimately over a couple hundred characters by now that people might want to see in the game. So yeah, we don't want that hard limitation, but we definitely have specific abilities that make their quirk shine and really tell their story.
And the great thing about the way the deck building works too is that because there's so many, you have access to 3 different resources, and we won't go too deep into that, but you can play almost half of the cards in the game with any given character because of how many different characters, each having 3 different symbols associated with them, and then all of their cards also sharing the same symbols. So it's very cool, and it's not like I'm this character, so I only have out of 180 cards that we have in the first set, I can only play with 20 different cards in a Midoriya deck. I get access to way more than that.
Now, is there any bonus for matching more than one of those resources on a card? So if I match all three, is there any sort of like mechanical benefit
Sometimes
to
that's
having?
the thing. That's
Sometimes
a
that's a
unique
thing.
mechanic
Okay.
that comes up every now and then. For the
Cool.
most part, you pick one of the symbols and build the whole deck off of that symbol,
Okay.
and that will tell you a different style. So even though you can build it on any of them, each symbol has a very specific style. So you have a lot of cool personal play preference that you do when you're doing deck building.
Nice. So do you want to go over some of those to let people know like kind of what those play styles are kind of going to feel like, or?
Yeah, like starting on the Midoriya card that he's showing right here, in order from top to bottom, the blue kind of Saturn looking symbol, it's a halo. That's the good symbol, which represents usually your main characters will have the good symbol. It's not always personality based, but in this case, in a lot of cases it is. And the good symbol is a very kind of defensive, strategic symbol. Right under that, you have the leaf growing, which is the life symbol. It does speed, life gain, and that kind of thing in the mechanics. And then the bottom symbol is the scale, which is the order symbol. And this is the characters that really believe in fairness, and of those abilities, even in the game, will often do something where I get something, but you get something too, to equal
nice.
the fair order of the universe.
Or conversely,
really cool
if you do something, I get to do something too, because you shouldn't get ahead.
Yeah, and the cool thing about all the symbols is they all have an opposite. So order has chaos that opposes it. Life has death, good has evil, and so forth. So you have fire, water. There are 12 major symbols, and they all have an opposite symbol.
Very nice. Very cool. So yeah, so you can totally like tap into one of those symbols and build an entire deck and build that strategy, or tap into that strategy, and then different characters will. Oh, great. Yep. It sounds like B's back, so you guys don't have to endure me any longer. We can have our actual host come back in. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yep. We're gonna go into standby for a minute while we bring B back in. So you won't hear us for a moment, but stay with us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Commercial break.
All right, welcome back. So sorry about that. Tech Goblins absolutely got the best of me, most likely the Heroes League. But we last left off kind of talking about some of the mechanics of the game and some of the characters that would be available in here. Timothy, why don't you go from there?
Sure. So, the show centers around not just Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo, but the rest of Class 1A. And I believe almost every single character from Class 1A is playable in the first set.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as I was showing you, and as we kind of talked a little bit, there are attack cards and foundation. That's not a foundation, but there are attack cards and foundation cards. We'll see if we get one. There we go. So attack cards and foundation cards. Those are the two main cards. There are two other card types currently, and those are unimportant to learning the basics of the game. But they're very cool as well, and add more depth to the game. So when you play, generally, you'll choose your character. In this case, we've got Midoriya here, and you'll look at some key information there on your character. You've got the there's a little like fanned card icon, and that is has a 6 in it for Midoriya, and that's your hand size. And in this game, unlike many other games, every turn at the start of your turn, you will draw up to your hand size.
I love
so you
that.
see a lot more cards in your deck, and you get the chance to go through things because you have to play so many cards every turn. The number in the heart icon is your health, and that is, how much health you have. When that's down to 0, you are knocked out and you have lost the game. But keep it up and then and knock down your opponent, your rival's health, and then you win the game. And then each character has the 3 deck building symbols that we have kind of talked about a little bit, and there are 12 symbols in all. And that's an advanced thing, so it's unimportant to learning to play. That's just for deck construction, which is super cool.
Okay.
Then in the text box, you'll see there are some abilities. We'll go over that shortly, but basically what you'll want to do is when you find your favorite character and you decide you are going to play them, you'll look at their abilities and you'll just kind of build a deck based around what they do. In this case, Midoriya, he definitely is learning in the first instance of a character for him. He's learning to use All for One. He doesn't really have very good control over it. So what he's able to do is discard his whole hand. He throws away all cares, but he gets a big old wallop. He gets extra damage onto his attack.
Nice.
But also, he is very smart and observant, and he pays attention to heroes and villains, and he writes his notes and keeps observations. So he is also able to kind of try and guess what his rival will do next. And if he's successful, it'll be easier for him to block their attack.
Interesting. So mechanically, how does that one play out? That one is the least, I'd have to kind of see that one visually.
Sure. So let's start off and kind of go over how the basics of the game play.
Okay.
So when you start, you'll at the start of the game, you'll shuffle your deck, and I'll shuffle it for you. And then what we'll do is we'll draw, and our hand size for Bakugo here is 6, right? So I'm going to draw 6 cards. Now, normally this would be in my hand, not here because this is a play area, but I'll put it right here for right now so everyone can see. Okay, so I have a lot of attacks. Woo, that's not really great early game, but it's kind of okay. What we'll do is we're going to play. So if I'm going first, my character begins committed. I don't get to use my character. It is the disadvantage of going first because you get to do everything before your rival, but it's a little riskier to play cards.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is, in order to play a card, you're going to put it into the card pool. And so the difficulty on this card is a 2. And because it's the first card I'm playing, there's no additional difficulty. So,
difficulty is the top left big orange number.
Perfect. Okay.
So then in order to play that card, to try and pay the cost, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over the top card of my deck into my discard and compare the bottom blue number here, the 6, to the total up here, which is 2 plus 0. So 2 is definitely lower than 6, or I should say 6 is definitely at least a 2. So I've successfully played this card. Now I can continue my turn and play another one, which I will do. I'll play another copy of the same card, Aggressive Temper.
Yep.
So
good name.
This one, yeah, he's aggressive. So we've got the 2 up there again, but because I've already played a card, you see this 1 here next to it. So now I have 2 plus 1. I have to make a check to play, and that will be, I need a 3, and well, there's another 6, so I succeed.
I see. Okay.
So
so this is called progressive difficulty. The more cards you play, the harder it gets to play more cards.
Yeah, I like.
And so
that,
you need to think about the order of importance of your cards, because the second you don't pass that check, your turn will end, and that card will fail.
The more cards you play, the more you exert yourself.
Yep.
So then every turn, what you'll do is when you can either choose to end your turn after you've successfully played a card, or if you try to play a card and you fail it, your turn will end. So just because I will try to play, we'll try to play a signature right swing. So that's going to be a 4 difficulty. Plus 2 because I've already played 2 cards.
Yep.
So I'll make a check. And well, I got a 5. I needed a 6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any cards in my stage. Now, normally this would be what my hand is. So I don't have any cards in my stage that I can commit to add plus 1 for each card for each foundation in your stage that you commit. You could add plus 1 to that number.
Okay.
But because I didn't, I am unable to successfully play this card. So that will discard, and my turn will end. Then you will take all of the successfully played foundations and add them to your stage. So now on the next turn, I can use these to play more cards.
Oh, cool. Okay. And that's
Yeah,
where
we
it
call this
gets a little
building.
upset.
And when we say to play more cards, you can use the ability on the card during the course of the game to do whatever the ability does. But
Mhm.
in addition, your character card and your foundations can be committed or turned sideways to add +1 to a check. So
Okay.
every foundation you have out adds +1 to a check. Now, there is a caveat to that. Some people might think, well, why don't I just build a whole bunch of cards and never fail a card?
Yeah.
Well, there's also a rule called deadlock. So if you have over 10 foundations, super powerful abilities against you get triggered. So you don't want to just do that, because then you're more likely to just get smacked across the screen.
Yep.
I love
Yep.
that. That's probably a lesson I have to learn the hard way, though.
Yeah.
Got to try it out at least once.
So then after my turn ends, then it would go to my rival's turn, and they'd be able to play it out. And then when it becomes my turn again, I will ready my cards by turning them back upright. And at this point, I have the opportunity, if I so choose, I can discard up to one card before I draw. So, like I said, you'll be able to draw up to your hand size.
That's the purpose. Okay.
Yep. So both Midoriya and Bakugo have a hand size of 6. So what I get to do is I've discarded a card, and now I have 2 cards left in my hand. I'm going to draw 4 cards.
Hope it
And
gets
so,
better.
yep. So that's the great thing, is that because you see lots and lots of cards throughout the game, you have more chance to see different strategies that you've built into your deck and more cool attacks. So what I will do now that I've played some cards, I'll play an attack. In order to play an attack, like all other cards, I'm going to put that down. I need a 5. And I got a 5. There we go.
Wow.
So attacks and characters and foundations can have abilities that you can play with them. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you how to block.
Ooh, yes.
So now you'll see on an attack, there's addition to the here, I'll show you here. In addition to the difficulty and the check and the text box, there's a little symbol here, which is a circle with some arrows on it. That is your speed, which also indicates the zone that you're attacking, either high, mid, or low.
Oh, I love that.
Yep. And then underneath that, in the starburst, is the damage of the attack. So if this attack is not blocked, that is how much health you will lose.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah.
Bakugo, yeah, he has some big hits.
Additionally, on both your foundation, and we'll assume this is in your hand, on both your foundation and this Bakugo attack, there's a little shield up in the top right corner.
Yeah, I've been looking at that.
So that shield is the block symbol, and while a card is in your hand, only in your hand, you can block an attack with it. In order to block, I'll put my attack here. Let's say we're ready to block.
Yep.
In order to block, what you'll do is you'll want to try and use a block that has the same zone. So you'll see the block on rigorous training here is orange, and there's a little plus sign kind of like in the center of the side.
Oh, that's all important. Okay.
Yeah. So you see, like here on Aspiring Punch, we have a 3, and it's red, and there's a little plus sign up at the top. So those are the block zones. So block zones and attack zones want to match up. If you match the same exact zone, you'll block all the damage. However, if you block, let's say, because this is a high and this is a mid, if you block an attack with an adjacent block zone, then you would take half damage rounded up. So if you were to do that, you would take 3 damage from long-lasting explosion. You can't block a low attack with a high or a high attack with a low, but so what you would do
It's
is
kind of like blocking your face and getting tripped.
That's trying to
you'll
visualize
you'll
that.
play the block into your card pool on my turn, and then so you would need a 2, which is the block modifier on this card, plus 5. So you would need to check a 7. So you would flip over, get a 3, and then you would have to commit 4 cards to make that 3 into a 7. And that's how blocking works.
Okay.
And blocking also gets harder the more blocks you play. Just like on your turn, your cards get harder.
I love that though. And that feels very combative though. Like, you can only block so many times in combat. And like I love the different tiers to it. I think that's wonderful.
So it's also another reason why during your turn you don't just play every single card in your hand.
Yep.
Because it's just like if you're boxing but you never protect your face, it's not going to go well for you.
Yep, you definitely need to hold some cards to block with, and you have to be able to an extent, everyone kind of has to be a little bit like Midoriya and be able to try and predict what their rival is going to play as an attack. So they can hold on to the correct blocks to not take any damage.
I think that's excellent.
And what's wonderful is when you start a game, by about turn 2 or 3, you start to learn the strategy of your opponent's or your rival's deck, because they have to flip a card into their discard pile every time they play a card. And so you're slowly learning as the game goes along what your rival is trying to do. Now this is where deck building comes in, where you put single cards in there to trick your opponent and you can't predict them.
Yep.
And then those are like your really super cards that they're never going to see coming. I love trapping my opponent and baiting my opponent. So like I'll definitely have lots of one-offs in my deck, but a lot of people also want to just do 4 of everything and make it super, super consistent and just go through with the consistent route. It's very personality driven on how you like to play a game. You can kind of build your deck to do anything you want in this game.
That is excellent. So on average, how long does a game run? Once, like, assuming both competitors have a good foundation for what all the mechanics are.
A single game's about 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, nice.
It can run long if you're both playing defense, maybe 20, 25.
Okay.
And we play best 2 out of 3 in this game.
I like that.
So we usually give, I think it's an hour to play 3 games in a tournament setting. 50 minutes to an hour, depending on the tournament. But it shouldn't usually last that long. In fact, it's a very fast-paced game. And as you get used to the cards, like the time is usually reading the cards. So the more you learn about the game and what every character does, and you're going to learn the characters real quick if you know the show, because their themes are very similar. So if you know what they do in the show, you're going to be way more likely to know what they do in the card game, so that you can kind of be ready for that. And then, learn as you go. But once you kind of become an expert and you've learned somewhat what all the cards do, the game is very back and forth. And there's one more step to the game that's like kind of the bread and butter of what makes it so addictive and fun, is we went through playing cards and blocking cards and how to take damage. The core of the game is actually the attack sequence.
Yes.
The attack sequence is where both players get a chance to buff, debuff, and affect the attack before it goes to the block step. And this is where these attacks really go and shine. And that's where most of the abilities in the game come into place. That's where you see the word enhance all over the place.
Okay.
So you enhance the attack.
Oh, I see. So some of the cards that you're pulling up.
The orange enhance word means you can pump up an attack or debuff an attack for your opponent.
And those abilities are only playable during an attack.
Okay, very specific. I mean, that makes sense, though. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, Tim, if you want to run through an enhanced step,
sure,
that'll kind of get you through the rest of the game.
Sure, I'll try to do that real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So, assuming that I've just played Long Lasting Explosion, what I would do, so I would, as the player who played the attack, I get the first chance to play an enhance. So I would play the ability on Long Lasting Explosion, which reads, if the next attack you play this turn is a high attack, so the high zone, it gets +3 speed. If the next attack you play this turn is a mid attack, it gets +3 damage. So while Midoriya wants to guess what his rivals can be doing, Bakugo wants to make it difficult to guess because I get 2 very cool things, but you have to figure out which one I'm going to try to do.
Excellent.
Now, conversely, because I've played that, Midoriya, since you have that in front of you, you could choose his enhance, name an attack zone. So here's a question. Do you think, following this attack, I'm going to play a high or a mid?
You want me to guess?
Sure.
I say high.
High. So if I play a high attack, now you know that that's going to be -3 speed. So if next attack I play is high, I'll be -3 speed. And that'll basically counteract the +3 speed that I'm giving. Then
Okay.
Bakugo, his special ability is he can destroy a foundation, throw it into his discard, to give himself +2 damage. And we use dice here sometimes to just remember what we're doing. So now, if this attack hits, it's dealing 8 health instead of 6.
Yep.
So Bako is very, very aggressive and
Scary?
offensive minded.
Mhm.
What's really cool is there's a synergy in his deck too. The card he just destroyed for Bakugo's ability has a response.
Yeah,
Oh, what
so
does that do?
take a look at this card. So this says, which is kind of like an instant speed right away. As soon as what it says happens, I get to do it. So when it enters my discard pile during the enhanced step, I get +2 damage. So I will respond with that.
Oh, wow.
And now this is a 10 attack or 10 damage attack. So if you don't block this, you'll go from 28 to 18.
Oh, a little bit of an 18. Yeah, just a small drop.
Yep. Well, let's assume that you blocked that and we move on. So then if I play, oh, well, I don't have a high attack, so I would play a mid. And then unfortunately your guess would not work, but
Exactly.
it's that's kind of the back and forth is we take turns. I do a thing, you do a thing, I do a thing, you do a thing during the attacks. And then as that happens, we kind of get the opportunity to affect what's going on. And that's kind of
really like
really
that.
the fun.
Yeah, you go back and forth until both players pass consecutively. So if you say pass, I can keep doing my enhances until I'm done, which is really cool. So I can make this as, I can basically use all my resources in one attack if I want and hope you don't block, or I can save it and kind of try to span it out because I don't want to take that kind of risk and just get blocked and then go, oh, well, I guess I'm going to get hit really hard now.
Wasted all my attacks.
There might even be some characters that want to do that. Another cool thing about this, like I said, each character can potentially have their own unique hand size and health, which is important to see. I'm going to show you some other characters that maybe people haven't seen before.
Yeah, let's run through those
little
really
preview
quickly,
here.
and then
So,
let me know where we can buy this game
Sure.
online.
So this is the promo art for All Might, which we released at Gen Con in 2019.
So nice.
And you can see he has 30 health because he's All Might. He's super cool.
I like that. That feels real.
It's
And
the buff. It's the buffness.
Conversely, maybe we have some trickier characters that get more cards in hand every turn, but a little bit less health. So here I'm going to show you Kuragiri, and he has 7 cards every turn. So to even him out, because he sees more cards every turn, he has less health.
Much less. But like, I love that though. Even thematically, I feel like it makes sense. He's this squishy portal kind of guy. He
Yeah.
doesn't have that same resilience as All Might.
Yeah, since we're not going through a full game, to see the kind of the matchup here between Bakugo and Midoriya, you have Midoriya in season 1, which is heavily based around for set 1. Obviously, every time he tries to do a punch or a move, he's breaking and bruising his body up real bad. To represent that in this game, it's literally related to your hand in the game. So when you discard your hand, that's when you get your 10 damage pump. You get it once.
I love that.
So you lose your hand to do a massive blow and hope that he can go through. He's a very risk-reward character that's going to count on his knowledge of the game to be able to do that damage. And then he gets bonuses for when he doesn't have cards in hand or other kinds of pumps based off of that mechanic. And you're going to see this type of theme to match their quirk, and it's going to change throughout the seasons too. As you know, Deku gets stronger and stronger. He learns new techniques, and his character will evolve throughout the game. So he has a character, and it has a version 1 on it. It has a little Roman numeral inside the text box.
I love
There's
that.
going to be multiple Deku versions that you can play, multiple Bakugo versions you can play as the season progresses, and they change their fighting styles and get better. You'll play that through the seasons as new sets come out and promo cards and things like that.
That's fantastic. I'm genuinely looking forward to this. You have sold this to me from point A to point B, from the art to the mechanics to the gameplay. Like, thank you both for coming on and talking to me about this, because like having gone from just like trading and borrowing other people's Pokemon cards and not really wanting to learn anything, now I absolutely need this. Like, I'll be going to conventions soon, and like Origins Game Fair, I'm going to be bringing this game and challenging people to a duel. So thank you so much for that.
And if you'd like a big box of demo decks to bring with you and hand out however you want, just let us know after the show. We'll ship it over to you.
Adam, I think that's a good idea. So yeah, we'll stay in touch. Where can folks find you? How do we support you online?
So we have jascogames.com or .net. Either one goes the same place. That's kind of the majority of the company for Jasco Games. And then My Hero Academia has its own website that's coming out soon, and its own Facebook group. And we have a Jasco Games Facebook group as well. And we're about to have a bunch of news on that specific My Hero Facebook page coming up, and launching the new website. So
the website that we have for the card game is mhacardgame.com.
Oh, easy peasy, mhacardgame.com. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget that after this, Wasabi Anime is on hiatus. They are hitting up a bunch of conventions. So if you want to check out Tabletop Otaku next week, we will be streaming on Origins Game Fair Wednesdays at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I've been your host, B. Zelda. Thank you and goodbye.